Hey guys, what's up? We are back with another video today, and today we are doing our Clemson Duke prediction and preview video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. This game is a week away. It is crazy to think that this game is so close after such a long off season. All the different trials and stuff like that happened, and the collapse of the Pac-12 and all of that stuff. Make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Like this video if you enjoy it. Comment your thoughts and opinions. Clemson fans, Duke fans, go ahead and put your score down below in the comment section. Pause the video, put your score down below, and then we'll see what I have at the end of the video. So go ahead, hit that comment button. Just type in your score. 35-14 Clemson, 42-35 Duke, whatever you think it is. Go ahead and put it down there, and let's see what happens here. Also, make sure to check out College Football Roundup. It is my second channel, my podcast channel with American Football Network, who is a Clemson fan, and will probably be watching this video upset at me. But either way, make sure that you go ahead and check out that channel. We will have a weekly podcast in which I did actually give a short answer prediction for this game, but here is the long answer format for this game. So let's go ahead and get into it. So you have two teams. This game is at Durham, North Carolina. You have Clemson on one hand and Duke on the other. We're going to go over Clemson's keys to victory, then we're going to go over Duke's, and then we're going to go with a prediction for this game. Clemson's 3 keys to victory. Number 1, Cade Klubnik has to play well with a good presence about him. And what I mean by that is he has to be calm, cool, and collective. This will be only the second game in his career in which he is the expected starter. He was the expected starter against Tennessee last year. But other than that, DJ, sometimes he came in for DJ against Notre Dame, against North Carolina, and stuff like that. And in other smaller games where there were blowouts in Clemson's favor. But this is only the second game in which he is the expected starter, in which he is going to be starting this game. I guess the second week that he is a starter. But either way, you have to keep a good presence. You have to be able to, hey, if you throw an interception, bounce back from it. Cade's going to probably struggle a little bit, especially in the beginning. Even if Clemson does win this game, even if Clemson looks good, Cade is probably going to have some struggles. But you got to be able to keep calm and cool and collective in that pocket and be able to make dimes when you need to, be able to throw darts all across the field. So, number 2. Get that run game going early and often. Will Shipley has to play a major role in this offense because I don't fully trust Cade Klubnik to be able to have it all together. Even though that's a key to victory, that's the reason why it's a key to victory, because I don't know fully whether it will happen, and if it does, then it's going to be a victory for the Tigers. But if it doesn't, then that's going to make it a lot of a struggle. That's where the prediction portion of this video comes in. But Will Shipley, one of the best running backs in the country, just plain and simple. Great running back. And I think he will get his yards. I think he will. But if you're the Clemson offensive line, you got to get some push off the ball. You can't have him getting hit in the backfield for a loss, or even if he gets hit in the backfield and then only gains 2 or 3 yards, rather than getting hit 2-3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage and then getting 5 or 6 yards by the end of the play. So you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to get that running game going early and often. Number 3, you cannot make mistakes. You can't have a lot of penalties. You can't have turnovers, and you got to kind of get turnovers. And I'm kind of putting all 3 of them in one category. You have to be able to do everything right. You can't be giving up kick sixes, or you can't give up a punt for a touchdown, or a block punts, or stuff like that. You got to limit the mistakes, because this Duke team is a very disciplined team under Mike Elko, and Clemson doesn't have the same leeway that they have had in the past few years in their opening matchups against Georgia Tech, against Pitt, or so on and so forth. I don't think Pitt was actually a home opener, but in these road games, particularly when it's going to be in a semi-hostile environment on Labor Day, you got to put it together. You got to put it together, and if you're going to do that, you got to start with not making mistakes. And I'm not saying Duke is the most hostile environment. I'm sorry if there's any Duke fans here. I went to Notre Dame and Duke. Duke fans aren't exactly the most hostile fan bases out there when it comes to football. Basketball, it's another conversation. Football, But when it comes down to it, can't make mistakes. Cade Klubnik has to have a good game, and Will Shipley has to get going and help out his quarterback. Now, on the other hand, with Duke, number one, Riley Leonard's got to get going early. You got to be able to put some pressure on those defensive backs for Clemson, put some pressure on those safeties, put some pressure on that defensive line. I think Duke has a solid defensive line. Personally, I think it's a better defensive line than Clemson. You can disagree, but I do think it is a better offensive line, not defensive line, offensive line than Clemson. I think that they definitely have a lot of good pieces, particularly the left tackle in Graham Barton. But I think if you're Riley Leonard, you got to go in early and often and put the pressure on Clemson to be able that they will make those mistakes, that they will have penalties, that they will have turnovers, stuff like that. You got to make them press. Number two, you got to stop Clemson's run game. Just as much as it's a key for Clemson to get in the run game, it's just as much of a key for Duke to stop the run game. They got to be able to stop Will Shipley, because if you force everything onto Cade Klubnik, then it gets a lot of issues for a young, inexperienced, and just not Trevor Lawrence quarterback. Like Trevor Lawrence, starting as a freshman, he had something special. There are not many quarterbacks that can do that. But when it comes to when it comes to Cade Klubnik, I don't think he has that same just absolutely really special ability and stuff like that. Clemson doesn't have the same leeway or ability just to say, hey, we're going to be fine, we'll be good, we'll do it another time. They don't have that anymore in the ACC. The gap has closed dramatically compared to what it was 3 or 4 years ago with the ACC, where Clemson was just dominating everybody and there wasn't anybody even close to winning the conference. So that's key number two, and stopping the run. Key number three, and I think that this is kind of the most important point, you got to be able to get after Cade Klubnik. You got to rattle him early. And I think really all three of the Duke points are opposite of the Clemson points and vice versa. Because, well, they kind of are. Like, the keys for Duke is the same keys for Clemson, but opposite. If you're Duke, you got to get after Cade. You got to be able to rattle him. You got to be able to get in his mind and be able to see the ghost, stuff like that. You got to be able to get after him, and I think that Duke has the ability to do that. They brought in some good cornerback help from Miami and from Texas A&M in the transfer cornerbacks, and I think that secondary could be able to give that defensive line a little bit extra time to be able to get after Cade in that. So now it's time for the prediction portion of this video, and it comes down to this. When I'm looking at Clemson and when I'm looking at Duke, Clemson is a better team purely based off talent. They're a better team. But at the end of the day, it comes down to three things: quarterback, coaching, and overall roster / home environment. And I kind of split those up because it really, like, home environment, it's not enough to be its like own key. So I do overall roster plus home environment. Better quarterback. That very obviously goes to Duke. That is just Riley Leonard is a better, more proven quarterback than Cade Klubnik is. Just straight up, period, he is. Better coach. It goes to Dabo. Dabo, when it comes down to it, is just, he's in a better spot than Elko is. Elko's only been there for a year. He had a great year last year, don't get me wrong, but definitely has a lot to improve on as well. Finally, it comes down to overall roster and home field advantage. That is a combined key. And I think Clemson has a slightly better roster. I do think that they have a better roster, but I think with the home field advantage that Duke has, with it being early, with the inexperience at quarterback, I'm going to go with Duke. I think at the end of the day, this is going to be a close game. I think it is 28-27. At the end of the day, I think it's an incredibly razor-thin margin. I think that is a one-possession game. If it ends up being a 6-point game or a 7-point game or a 3-point game or whatever, that wouldn't surprise me. I say 1 point because that's as close as I can get. I think it is going to be a really close game, but I do think it ends in Duke's favor. I think that the quarterback and position and the defensive end of Duke is going to be able to rattle Clemson just enough that they're going to have some struggles. This is a big game for both the Tigers and the Blue Devils. And it's a game in which you both got to win. And Duke, if they get a win here, it would almost surpass any win that David Cutcliffe had at Duke, in my opinion, like having the number 7 team, I think is what Clemson is, maybe number 8, come in and beating them and stuff like that. So that's going to wrap up today's video. Hit 2 videos down below. Hit the subscribe button up here as we march our way to 1,200 subscribers. And once again, let me know what your score prediction down is in the comment section. I respond to every single one. And as always, have a great day. Bye, guys.